Great Sand Dunes National Park, located in south-central Colorado, is known for its massive sand dunes, the tallest in North America, as well as snow-capped mountains, dense forests, and crystal-clear lakes. The myriad of environments found in the park attracts numerous species of plants and animals, including migratory birds, amphibians and reptiles, mammals and fish, coniferous and deciduous trees, flowers, and aquatic plants. Many of the plant and animal species found in the park are not found anywhere else in the world. Among the lesser-known national parks in the United States, the Great Sand Dunes are a shining example of the many ecosystems of the American West. Great Sand Dunes National Park is situated in the San Luis Valley, an area found between the San Juan Mountains that cover much of the western part of Colorado and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains directly to the east of the valley. While the Sangre de Cristo mountain range has a long history, more geologically recent events shaped this small area of the ancestral Rocky Mountains into what it is today. During the Laramide orogeny, approximately 55 million years ago, tectonic plates from the Pacific Ocean collided with the North American plate, causing the uplift of the plate near the area of modern-day eastern Utah. The basins that had previously been filled with water were emptied, leaving sedimentary rock and smaller bodies of water behind. The mountains as we see them today arose 5 million years ago, isolating the San Luis Valley. The San Juan Mountains were defined much more by volcanic activity, which shaped the mountains via repeated intrusions of magma into previously deposited rock. Over many submersions beneath sea level, sedimentary rocks were deposited over the mountains. It was this precise placement and composition of the surrounding landmass that allowed for the formation of the sand dunes we see today. Throughout the most recent ice age, glacial activity eroded the mountains surrounding the valley and carved lakes into the valley floor. When the water receded 440,000 years ago, sediment from erosion of primarily quartz-based stone was left. Over time, more sediment accumulated from the surrounding mountain ranges as a result of the wind tunnel created by the mountains. Rivers and streams helped to replenish the sand in the valley, which can ebb with the winds to cause the phenomenon of migrating dunes. Although small dunes may appear and disappear relatively quickly, the larger system is stable and takes centuries to change. Because of the conservation of sand within the geographical limits imposed by the mountains around the valley, the Great Sand Dunes contain over 5 billion cubic meters of sand and can sometimes reach heights of over 750 feet. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains rise from the valley immediately adjacent to the sand dunes, from an elevation of just under 8,000 feet to an elevation of over 13,000 feet, and display evidence of glacial activity in full sight. The sharply carved ridges and summits of the mountains, the lateral moraines and glacial till, and the alpine lakes all show the effects of glacial movement on the area. Although the large glaciers that shaped the area are now gone, small alcoves of snow remain year-round at higher altitudes in the mountains. Many small lakes in the mountains, fed by yearly precipitation and snowmelt, flow into creeks that join Medano Creek and Sand Creek, the life forces of the park. The creeks flow by the dunes, delivering water that sustains both living and non-living features of this environment. Water helps to erode the mountains and delivers sediment to the dunes, both from mountain streams and from dunes eroded by wind. Montane runoff also feeds an aquifer that extends almost a mile underground, trapped in the basin beneath the valley. The aquifer, in addition to preserving the sensitive balance of the dunes, provides water for the wetlands and lakes located in the south and west of the park. Sabhas, ecosystems of sand cemented together by salt from evaporation, also rely on the periodic influx of water to prevent the disintegration of the surface. Although it may not seem so at first glance, water is perhaps the most important feature of Great Sand Dunes National Park, maintaining the delicate balance of the elements that gives rise to its geological and ecological features. Weather in the park varies greatly with the seasons, as the combination of high altitude and continental climate makes precipitation infrequent and exacerbates the effect of the sun. The majority of the precipitation occurs in summer, with the mountains receiving an average of 50 inches and the sand dunes only 11. While temperatures in the mountains are relatively mild, the exposed sand dunes can experience much more dramatic swings in temperature, with the sand often rising to 150 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months. As is typical for continental climates of the southwest, the area experiences high daily temperature fluctuations in the fall, from below freezing at night to 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the daytime. Winter brings sub-zero temperatures and significant snowfall to much of the area, blanketing the dunes and surrounding mountains in fine snow. Cold weather persists through March, but by April, the increasing daylight begins to melt accumulated snowfall. The snowmelt runs into the Medano Creek, which reaches its peak flow in late May and early June. Along with the famous surge flow in the creek, which causes waves as deep as 20 inches, springtime brings with it an abundance of plant and animal life. As the snow on the surface of the sand dunes melts, plant life emerges, encouraged by the water and rising temperatures. Not many plants can grow on the dunes due to the extreme heat and lack of nutrients in the sand. However, some species of wild grasses and flowers can grow in the dips between dunes, a space that offers protection from the scorching sun and heat. A few inches below the surface of the sand, enough moisture is available for small plants to grow. These small plants can attract wildlife such as insects, lizards that feed on the insects, and birds that feed on the lizards. In addition, the plants can help stabilize the dunes by holding together sand within their root systems. Further along the sand sheet, more varied and plentiful plants can be found. Throughout the wetlands, sabhas, prairies, and shrublands, the various grasses, flowers, and shrubs attract many species of animals seeking food and refuge from the heat. Migrating birds often stop at the wetlands to hunt local amphibians, and herds of elk and bison can feed on the bushes found in the shrublands and prairies. Because of the isolation of the valley from much of the outside, many species of plants and animals are endemic to the area, most notably several species of insects. Fresh flowing water in creeks and streams across the park supports the riparian ecosystem, home to many deciduous trees such as cottonwood and aspen, as well as big animals such as birds and mammals that enjoy the shade provided by trees. These riparian zones extend into the lower reaches of the mountains, where more species of trees, in particular pines, join the aspen growing alongside streams. Forests and meadows in the lower regions of the mountains are home to some of the same species found in riparian zones, but are dominated more by coniferous trees such as juniper and pine. Forests and meadows contain the greatest diversity of plants and animals in the park, as the climate and geography of the lower mountains are ideal for a wide range of living organisms. Larger predatory animals, such as eagles or cougars, are most often found in these forests, preying on the herbivores, such as squirrels and deer, that feed on berries and vegetation. As elevation increases, vegetation becomes smaller and more scattered due to shallower and poorer soil, high winds, and shorter growing seasons. Some of the trees found near the mountain peaks may be 1,000 years old, yet only a few feet tall. Few plants and fewer animals can survive in the harsh conditions at such high elevations, and the only large animals consistently found here are pikas and bighorn sheep, who feed on the shrubs and flowers able to withstand the unforgiving environment. Humans have inhabited the San Luis Valley for over 10,000 years, and likely hunted the large bison and other game that roamed the valley, as evidenced by the spearheads found across the area. No large permanent settlements have been found in the region, as the hunter-gatherers traveled here from nearby settlements when food was plentiful. The Native American tribes that traveled through the valley were naturally aware of the sand dunes and referred to them as the land that moved. The tribes likely did not wander into the dunes although they did travel to the nearby mountains to collect food and medicinal plants. Many Native American tribes considered the valley and mountains sacred, such as the Navajo, who held Blanca Peak sacred, or the Tiwa, who believed that the lakes southwest of the dunes were the point of origin of their people. Spanish hunters likely entered the area in the early 1600s in search of expensive animal pelts, but the first documented explorer to enter the valley in 1694 was Don Diego de Vargas, a governor of the New Mexico territory that lay just south of the San Luis Valley. As the mountains around the valley were a popular travel route for trade between Spanish and native people, the dunes were a well-known landmark. The first popular account of the dunes was written by U.S. Army Lieutenant Zebulon Pike, an explorer who, in 1807, crossed the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in search of the Arkansas River. As more and more explorers and settlers arrived to the valley, it slowly developed and became permanently inhabited. Forts where travelers could restock on supplies and find safety from weather or attackers were constructed, and families came to the valley to establish homesteads and ranches. Most homesteads were located near Medano Creek or in the prairies, and roads leading across the valley were eventually created. Along with settlers interested in homesteading, the San Luis Valley attracted opportunists interested in the resources the dunes and mountains offered. Precious metals, mostly gold and silver, had been discovered in the Rocky Mountains in the 1850s, driving an influx of miners to the region. Medano Creek was seen as an ideal location for placer mining, as many people speculated that the sand dunes could contain gold deposits. However, the low water flow in the creek for most of the year quickly made placer mining unprofitable. Despite the lack of significant gold deposits in the sand dunes, people were still interested in the dunes for two reasons. First, the large volume of sand in the dunes could be sold for concrete manufacturing. Second, the dunes contained deposits of rock and sand high in magnetite, an oxide of iron that could be of commercial interest due to its propensity for becoming magnetized. The harvesting of resources from the valley and the destruction of local ecosystems concerned residents that recognized the importance of the watershed and sand dunes on the greater valley's ecosystem. By the early 1900s, pro-conservation sentiment was high, and the PEO Sisterhood sponsored a bill that would designate the Great Sand Dunes as a national monument. The bill passed in Congress and was signed in 1932 by President Hoover, putting an end to much of the mining, logging, and agricultural activity in the area. The national monument was placed under authority of the National Park Service, a decision that was further extended when the area was designated a national park in 2004. Today, the National Park Service manages the ecological and geological features of the park, ensuring that the unique landscape and wildlife is preserved both for visitors every year and for future generations. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like or subscribe for more educational documentaries. Check out more videos on the channel, or check out my friends' channels for more content.